Well, the warning signs are all around us, folks. A recession in New Zealand, rising interest rates in Europe, a local economy that on the surface refuses to bend to 12 interest rate rises. Something's got to give. Our business editor, Ross Greenwood, is here to explain. Ross, what gives? It's quite likely now, after yesterday's unemployment data, although good for jobs, is that more rate rises are going to come.
Well, that's right, because eventually something has to give, and that has to be the economy. But while you've got persistent inflation, and that pressure is going to come from wages if the employment market remains tight, even though it is brilliant for families, you've got to say, look, 78,000 jobs created is really good. But you can see this unemployment rate, which was expected over the course of the next year to tip up towards 4.5%, leaving around 200,000 people out of work, as last month's tipped down. And so that again shows that the labour market's tight, that employers don't want to let go of their workers. And so really, when you see this, 76,000 jobs created. And just to give you a little hint here, for the very first time, Australia's number of people employed went past 14 million for the very first time. By comparison, the number of people who are unemployed is around 500,000 people. So that gives you some sense of the scale. But what I want to also show you is the market reaction to that. Because it was a surprise, the unemployment rate was expected to be steady or indeed just tick up a little bit. Money market interest rates yesterday, right on the moment, really tipped up, and really this added to the suggestion that you were going to get more increases in interest rates. So even as we sit here this morning, you've got the expectations of interest rates rising from the ASX rate predictor. This is what happened yesterday. You can see that. But then if we go further forward, we can have a little look at the ASX rate predictor, and what that is basically showing you now at the bottom, 51% chance that the Reserve Bank will again raise interest rates when they meet in July. So after having raised rates for the last 2 months, the markets, which a week ago were saying it was a 0% chance, are now saying it's a 50-50 call. And most economists really are leaning to the fact that rates most likely will rise.
How quickly things can change, Ross, but isn't there a danger if the Reserve Bank keeps raising rates while there are signs the economy is cooling?
That's your problem. So there is always the thing, as I've told you before, it's not the first, second, third, or maybe even the 10th rate rise that hurts the economy the most. It's the last one. And we don't know where that last one is yet. But given the fact that there are signs that the economy is cooling and rapidly, and yet to defeat inflation, the Reserve Bank continues to raise interest rates. That's one of the big issues of all. So we have a little look at the overseas last night. The European Central Bank has again raised rates. So while the US kept them on hold, here's the European Central Bank raising interest rates by 0.25% to 3.5%. Remember, ours now sitting at 4.1%. Christine Lagarde is the president of the European Central Bank. She talked about it a little while ago.
Are we done? Have we finished the journey? No. We're not at destination. Do we still have ground to cover? Yes, we have ground to cover.
So it's going to be fascinating just to see what happens there, Pete, because, clearly the Reserve Bank is watching all of this, but they also have to make their own decisions. The Australian dollar, I can tell you this morning, is rising as a result of all this. Is at a 4-month high, around 68.8 US cents.
Even the Reserve Bank here, not immune to inflation, Ross.
No. So what's happened for a long period of time is its very outdated head office that we photograph and we film all the time in Martin Place. It's been up for a renovation. What's happened? The Financial Review reporting that they've found asbestos in the building site, and as a result, the cost of the building project, the refurbishment project, has blown out and will now cost the best part of $500 million. So you see, everybody is affected by rising building costs. The Reserve Bank is no exception.
Okay, and also just finally here, Ross, you've got insurance premiums that are going up and reports now that energy prices are rising at twice the rate announced by regulators.
Okay, so this is inflation. This is the reason why inflation is sticky and why the Reserve Bank raises interest rates. So you talk about insurance premiums. IAG this week announced that insurance premiums are likely to rise in the next 12 months by 20%. But then the regulated energy prices, this was announced in May from the regulator, was supposed to be between 19.6 and the best part of 25%. But there are plenty of reports now starting to come in that many energy users are getting increases in their bills of 50%. And And so just understand, they were the things really that was talked about before the budget, you might remember, controversial. And then all of a sudden the regulator came out, no, it's not going to be that much. But in reality, many of those users who are not on the regulated rates, their increases are as high as 50%. And again, that's just all adding to inflation and the pressure on interest rates.
Okay, Ross Greenwood, thanks for explaining. We'll talk to you again soon.